What if everything you've been told about civilization is backwards? What if cities, the so-called heart of human progress, are actually proof that our history has been rewritten? Think about it. You walk through a modern city and feel small, surrounded by towers of glass and concrete. We call this evolution. But buried under your feet, hidden beneath the streets and skyscrapers, lies a secret no historian dares to discuss. Because if this one fact becomes mainstream, the entire story of humanity, the way we understand time, technology, and even who we are, collapses overnight. Today, I'm going to show you why cities shouldn't exist. Let's start from the ground up. Literally, a city isn't just buildings, streets, and lights. A true city starts underground. Sewers, pipelines, drainage. That invisible system that carries away waste and water. It's the foundation of everything. Without it, your roads flood, your homes rot, your people die. But here's the paradox that cracks open the entire lie of ancient civilization. Historians claim that the earliest cities emerged from primitive villages, chaotic clusters of huts that somehow grew larger, denser, smarter. But that's not how engineering works. You can't just expand a village and magically gain an underground network of precision-planned tunnels, slopes, and water flow control. A sewer must be designed before a single house is built. It's the heart and veins of a city, laid down intentionally, not retrofitted. So if ancient cities had sewer systems, that means someone first mapped the terrain, surveyed elevations, planned water pressure, designed materials that could withstand decades, even centuries, of constant flow. Now, pause for a second. Who could have done that thousands of years ago? Peasants, warriors, nomads. You can't dig a sewer system without specialized knowledge, hydrodynamics, civil engineering, mathematics. You can't execute it without precision, instruments, surveying tools, and drafting materials. And you definitely can't maintain it without a trained workforce that understands it. So either we're missing entire centuries of lost technological advancement, or these cities weren't built by the people we think they were. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that these people somehow planned their cities. What did they use? A stick in the dirt? Pigment on an animal hide? That's cute. But no, to design even a small drainage system, you need accurate scale maps, geometry, and tools to measure gradients. You need something like paper. But the process of making paper, even basic parchment, is industrial. Machines, chemicals, and time. And then pencils. Simple, right? Wrong. The production of a graphite pencil requires 86 distinct steps: cutting, pressing, baking, refining, none of which existed in the so-called ancient world. So if they didn't have the tools to even draw a city, how did they build it? Maybe they didn't. Maybe they found it. This is where the cracks widen. Across continents, we see ancient cities that appear perfectly planned, symmetrical layouts, massive cathedrals, precise geometry aligned with stars, rivers and cardinal directions. Paris, Rome, Istanbul, Cairo, all claim to have evolved organically, yet every one of them hides an intricate, pre-existing grid beneath the surface. When archaeologists dig, they don't find layers of chaos. They find clean, engineered stone channels, massive tunnels, smooth concrete older than the people who supposedly built on top of it. So what's more likely? That peasants with wooden carts and no education planned an entire subterranean world, or that they inherited it from something before? A civilization advanced enough to design cities the way we still can't replicate today. Let's move upward, from the underground to the skyline. Look at the cathedrals of Europe, the fortresses of Asia, the temples of South America. The deeper you look, the more it feels impossible. Official history says these were built by peasants and masons, with chisels, ropes, and faith. But that story collapses the moment you stand in front of one. Perfectly interlocked stones, seamless arches, towers reaching hundreds of feet high, carvings with microscopic precision. These weren't random rocks stacked by farmers. This was architecture performed by engineers with knowledge we've supposedly only discovered in the last 200 years. No cranes, no electricity, no concrete mixers. Yet these people supposedly hoisted multi-ton stone blocks to dizzying heights. And the timeline? 200 years to complete a cathedral, 1,000 years for a city. That's not a timeline. That's a fairy tale. Imagine building something for 3 centuries without losing a millimeter of alignment. Through wars, plagues, regime changes, and no written blueprints. That's not perseverance. That's continuity of knowledge. And continuity of knowledge means one thing. Civilization wasn't interrupted. It was reset. Let's get more personal. Imagine walking through a history museum. Behind the glass, swords, armor, helmets. Artifacts, we're told, are hundreds or thousands of years old. But pick one up. Feel its weight. A medieval helmet supposedly worn by soldiers weighs 22 pounds. You can barely lift your head with it, let alone fight. A sword with edges dull as a spoon, never sharpened. Weapons that look impressive, but don't work. It's like someone designed the past retroactively, and then It clicks. These aren't relics of war. They're props, handcrafted for display, not survival. Why would a warrior carry a golden saber with jewels if one clean hit could shatter it? Why engrave cannons like jewelry if they're meant for battle? You wouldn't. Unless those weapons weren't made for war, but for showing us war, for reinforcing a narrative, a curated illusion of conflict and conquest. So what if most of what we call ancient warfare never happened at all? What if it was written after the fact to fill in the blanks? To justify ruins no one could explain, to give credit to heroes who never existed. Our ancestors didn't build the world we live in, they inherited it, and then they built a story to make it theirs. Take the legends of empire, Alexander the Great, Napoleon, the conquistadors. Books say they marched millions of men across deserts and mountains, conquering continents with swords and horses. But logistics experts, real modern ones, will tell you this is impossible. Feeding, watering, housing that many people without modern transport. Even today it's nearly unachievable. So how did they do it? They didn't. Because it never happened that way. It was painted that way. Literally. Artists, chroniclers, and priests gave us a theatrical version of history. Because a world without conquest, without struggle, without civilizing missions, doesn't justify power. So the illusion was built. Mighty conquerors, divine builders, unstoppable armies. And beneath that illusion, a simpler truth, one we can't bear to face. We don't know who built our world. Here's where the idea turns cosmic. If cities couldn't have evolved naturally, and the people credited with building them lacked the means, what's left? A reboot, not metaphorically, literally, a planetary reset, a cyclical event that wipes the surface clean and starts again, keeping only what was meant to survive. Look around any old city, grand monuments that outlasted floods, fires, wars. They don't just survive, they resist decay. The material, the geometry, the energy, everything about them screams permanence. Compare that to modern buildings, disposable, soulless, decaying within decades. So maybe these ancient structures aren't from a primitive past at all, but from a previous version of our world. A world rebooted, a polygon, as some ancient texts describe it, not a geometric shape, but a testing ground. A space of many angles, many paths where souls are tested. Our cities, then, are not creations of humanity. They're remnants of a divine or higher order. We didn't build them. We woke up inside them, wrote myths to explain them, and called it history. In every ancient religion, corners and angles are sacred or cursed. In the Bible, Sinners are cast into the dark corners of hell. In the Vedas, Shiva is trapped in a luminous corner to stop his cosmic dance of destruction. In early Buddhist texts, Naraka, the word for hell, literally means the corner below. A polygon, a many-angled prison. Our world might not be a sphere at all in the spiritual sense. It might be a divine simulation, a testing chamber of angles and constraints, built to push consciousness through friction and suffering. And cities, dense, overwhelming, structured, are the ultimate manifestation of that. Artificial grids trapping natural souls. Concrete corners where light can't reach. Maybe that's why we feel so drained in cities. Maybe that's why they hum with restless energy, because they are, quite literally, the corners of this proving ground. Now, here's where the theory becomes terrifyingly beautiful. If Earth is a proving ground, a polygon, then pain, struggle, and chaos aren't punishments. They're the curriculum. This isn't a paradise gone wrong. It's a school designed to forge souls. That's why cities exist. To concentrate challenge, to trap us long enough for growth. Each skyscraper, each sewer, each subway, it's not just infrastructure. It's architecture for awakening, because only under pressure does a soul evolve. Maybe the so-called ancient builders were not masons or slaves, but beings who understood this truth. They built temples that aligned energy, cathedrals that harmonized frequency, cities that encoded spiritual geometry, and when the time came for another reset, the slate wiped clean. The structures remained, immortal as stone, waiting for the next iteration of consciousness to rediscover them. That's us. We're the new players in an old game, walking through ruins we didn't design, telling stories to hide our confusion. So where does that leave us? If everything we know about history, and even civilization itself, is a patchwork myth, what can we do? We start where every awakening begins, with doubt. Doubt the stories written in your textbooks. Doubt the certainty of experts. Doubt even this video, because doubt is the first crack in the wall, and through that crack, light enters. You don't escape the polygon by running from it. You escape by seeing it, by waking up inside it. The moment you question what's under your feet, the sewers, the tunnels, the perfect geometry, you've already begun the process, and maybe that's all this existence ever asked of us. Not to destroy the illusion, but to see through it. So the next time you walk through your city, stop. Look down. Imagine the impossible infrastructure below. Imagine the perfect geometry no one admits to. And remember, cities shouldn't exist. They are the proof that something far greater once did. If you're still here, congratulations. You've made it further than most ever will. But this is only the beginning. There's more, much more, that can't be said openly here. Documents, blueprints, satellite data that show what's hidden beneath our feet. If you want to keep going down this path, if you're ready to question not just history, but reality itself, follow the link in the pinned comment. Because once you start looking for the truth, you'll never see your city the same way again.